Hello, my name is Jim Troxel, and on behalf of the Dambach Fellowship Founders Council, I'd like to welcome you to this recording of our conversation with our newest awardee of the Dambach Peacebuilder Fellowship at Oklahoma State University School of Global Studies, Ms. Stephanie Hassan from Nigeria. This recording is being made during a Zoom session of the members of the council and a couple of invited guests held with Stephanie as classes at OSU began in early fall of 2024. We'll introduce the other members of the council and our guests as the interview proceeds. For now, let's meet Miss Stephanie Hassan.
Hi,
Hello, Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's
It's
our
good to be here.
pleasure.
Yeah,
It's our
thank you.
pleasure, Stephanie. We're so pleased to meet you here. So, you're from Nigeria. Now we see the map right behind it. Can you just go around and point to where Nigeria is there on the map of Africa to your left?
Sure. Here, right here. That's
Okay,
the Nigerian map. Yes.
very good. Just in case any of our viewers are a little confused about where it is, just want to make sure we all knew. Thank you very much. So tell us about coming from Africa. What was it like for you growing up? What were some of the things you did as a child? Do you tell us a little bit about your family? Give us a little of your background.
Oh, thank you very much for that question. I'd say that growing up in Nigeria is one key factor that has deeply shaped my views, interests, and the approach to which I see life, especially my passion for peace studies. And all that I would say started from a very young age because I grew up in a community that has this vibrant traditions and the beautiful cultures. I learned life's critical lessons that came from every aspect of my life, from my time in my home, my family, to my time at my grandparents' place, to my experiences in school, to the friends that I grew up with, to even the teachers that I encountered. And all of this together, I'd say, has shaped my view. And first, I'd like to talk about my parents and the roles that they played in my upbringing. So, I come from a family of six. I am the first of four children. I learned from my father the importance of education. And even though the community where I grew up was not one that was very big on education, but my father understood better. And so he vowed that all his children should and were going to be properly educated. Sadly, he passed on last year, and the fact that he always emphasized on the transformative power of education never left me. And he had the slogans, one of his slogans I remember properly growing up was that education is one of the keys to life. And so he believed that it was all about education. As a matter of fact, that was all we did. That was all he talks about because, he wanted to, as an African parent, he wanted to be proud of his accomplishments. And his accomplishments had to do with his children and how much of education he has given them. And my mother, on the other hand, she taught me the importance of empathy and community support. And these were lessons that taught me to, these were lessons that taught me to balance between striving for personal goals and looking out for others. And this, I would say, is one very good balance because it's one that's very crucial in my field as a peace and conflict expert. And I also remember my experiences in school. I particularly remember my high school teacher, Mr. Pat. He taught me to always question and critically analyze the world using my immediate community as an example. And this is another aspect that I'll say that is very essential for understanding the complex issues surrounding the world. And after my high school, I attended the National Open University where I studied mass communications. So I had initially wanted to study peace and conflict, but because I wanted to study peace and conflict because it's always been my life goal. And but at the time there were no so much schools that offered peace and conflict. There was no so much awareness about this kind of course. And so I went ahead and studied mass communication. I settled for mass communication because, the way that the media portrayed the issues of the world, all that we watched on TV growing up were, wars and all the anarchies and chaos that happened around the world. And so I knew that there had to be a connection between the media and peace and conflict. And so I wanted to understand the role that the media played. And that was, one of the reasons why I went ahead to study mass communications. And then I graduated. And then back then also, there was this particular TV show that I remember watching every Sunday evening as a child. It was called Tales by Moonlight. And this was how the show always was. There was an elderly woman who would gather children, surround them. They would sit on the floor, maybe behind a tree. There was always either under a tree, there was always a tree around. She'll tell them very interesting stories. I loved this program so much.
Hmm.
Interesting stories. And at the time, they were just stories because I was younger. But as I grew older, I started to understand that these were not just mere stories. They were interesting stories that had helped me to connect to my heritage and instills a very strong sense of identity, which I still carry everywhere up until now. And I would say that another very significant turning point in my childhood was when we moved from a smaller city to a large city. And this change exposed me to a broader spectrum of cultures and social issues. And it was in this city that I became more aware of the social disparities that eventually lead to conflicts because I saw firsthand. And these experiences were eye-opening for me and it fueled my interest and understanding. And also, it just helps me to be more aware. And from that young age, I started to volunteer. I started from church because we're very active in church. I volunteered in church programs. There were different campaigns that were always happening, different community engagement programs. And up until now, I'm still volunteering and so I would say that all these experiences put together, I cannot talk about my childhood without mentioning all these experiences because they are the things that have shaped me and, given me the worldview that I have and has also helped me to pursue my goal in life.
That's terrific, Stephanie. Very, very, very impressive life story there. And then after you finished your schooling there in Nigeria, you attended the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, did you not?
That's correct. Yes,
And
that's correct.
how did you find out about that school and how did you manage to get there and what did you study there at UNC Greensboro?
Okay, thank you. So my journey to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro I'd say it began the day that I picked my computer to search for reputable colleges that offer peace and conflict. Just as I said earlier, I always wanted to study peace and conflict. Um, and so that was literally what I typed. I literally typed reputable colleges in the United States that offer peace and conflict. And so even though at the time I searched and populate so much results because, the percentage of schools that offer courses like that aren't a lot, even in Nigeria. And truth is that not a lot of people know and are aware that this is a discipline that people can actually study. And so I searched for, the school. And because of how determined I was to finding a program that aligned with my goals, I applied to UNCG alongside other schools. And I was offered admission actually everywhere that I applied. And so here is how UNCG stood out for me. First, um, my criterias were very specific. I had one, I wanted a school that offered reputable academic programs and also provided platforms for practical engagement, which would help me prepare better for my future roles in my endeavor. And so what I mean by this is this, I didn't just want a school that was only interested in classroom teaching. I wanted a place that would give me the opportunity to have hands-on experiences, in terms of internship and all. And so that was the one reason. And the second reason was that I wanted a place that had a vibrant academic environment that also focuses on creating impactful community engagement. And another reason that I picked UNCG was that I wanted a place that had a solid international student presence because I knew that I was coming from Nigeria and I knew that I was going to need the support of the international students or body there. And, I wanted a place where I'm Black. I wanted a place where, I was going to feel a sense of acceptance. And yeah, those were the reasons. And I also um, searched out the alumni community of the school. I found out that the alumni are doing very well. Everyone had, something that they could talk about that they were doing, and so I liked that. I also particularly liked that the curriculum of the school was very rich, of the departments that I was going in for was very, very rich. And so these were the reasons that made me settle for the University of North Carolina, UNCG.
Wow, very impressive. And you earned a master's degree there, correct?
Uh, Absolutely. I earned a master's degree in peace and conflict studies.
In peace and conflict studies. Well, what
Yes.
led you to decide that you wanted to earn a second master's degree? And why was it that you chose the School of Global Studies, OSU Global, at Oklahoma State University?
So first of all, I learned about Oklahoma State University School of Global Studies through an academic advisor who's also more of a mentor, because we always talked about all that we talked about were issues of the world, community organizing and all that. And so because he recognized my passion for global engagement in nonprofit organizations, he suggested that I explore, additional advanced program. And he at the time he knew someone who went through the program, and so he thought that it was going to be a good fit for me. And he wasn't wrong because of how I wanted to better myself. I applied to the School of Global Studies here at Oklahoma State University. And so Oklahoma State University School of Global Studies stood out for me for several reasons. One, it offered a multidisciplinary approach, which integrates political science, economics, and cultural studies, which I believe would provide a more holistic understanding of global issues. And the school's commitment to addressing contemporary challenges through innovative solutions also resonated with my aspirations to effect change. And it was very interesting to find out that the program also had four key interesting tracks, which a person could major on. And so these four tracks, I liked all of them, but sadly, you have to pick one. The school offers it has the global business trade, which focuses on international trade, economics, development and policies. It has political diplomacy and global communication as a second trade, which centers on impacts of global media, emerging communication technologies and all that. And then the third track is global leadership and development, which addresses global challenges and development and developing leadership skills for humanitarian and social issues in diverse cultural settings. And then the fourth one, which looks like what I'm most likely going to be interested in, is a global disaster and crisis management. This emphasizes managing global crises like cultural, natural disasters and political conflicts and social unrest. And this also prepares students for roles in government and nonprofit organization. And so because of my interest in nonprofits, peace building, community organizing, and all of that, I feel like this is what is most suitable and is tailored to my own particular need. And so far it's been 2 weeks here in Oklahoma, Stillwater, and I'd say that it's a very nice place. I'm not disappointed in any way. The people here are very nice. They're very courteous. They're they're really nice actually. They're kind. You know, everyone that I've interfaced with and interacted with, the it feels like a good place to be safe, small, just the proper kind of community that I always wanted to be in. And so I feel like I am in the right place. And
That's great, Stephanie. And now, as you probably know, OSU is famous for calling itself America's brightest orange. So one of these
yes,
days you'll have to get an orange t-shirt or
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it's a necessity. If you're here, you have to be proud of the orange color. So yes, I intend to get myself one as well.
that's great, Stephanie. That's great. Hank, did you have a question or did she talk?
Well, just to further flesh out, Stephanie, when you were at the UNC Greensboro, you said you were with Peace Action, North Carolina. Could you tell
Yes.
us more about that and what kind of projects you worked on there?
Okay, so at NCP's Action, it's an organization that the basic things that they do, they work with organizations to fight or to canvass for the abolishment of nuclear weapons. And so because of that project, I I had a project where I had to more like the whole idea was to insensitize people on the dangers of nuclear weapon. And so I had like a debate, and I'm trying to remember what it's called now. Something, just to gather people together, and symposium. Yes, it's called the simple. Yeah, I organized a symposium, and yes, in that time, I worked with people from communities, and so just to inform people about the dangers of nuclear weapon, and yeah, that's a project that I would say that I worked on.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, do you have a question that you wanted to ask Stephanie?
Yes, Stephanie, I'm Kay Dambach, and congratulations on being the second fellow to receive the Peacebuilder Fellowship. And my question is, I'm originally from Texas and went to school, did my undergrad work there. So I was interested about the Amnesty International um, program you did in Austin. Can you tell me a little bit about it and how you came to be there and what you did?
Okay, so at the organization, Amnesty International, so what we do, because so we were we so the project that I worked on was the abolishment of was gun rights, was more about gun rights, and to more like control the gun rights usage. And so I was hands-on on that project. I worked with a couple of other people, and we also worked with fundraising, whereby we raised funds for the organization. And yeah,
So was it more like gun control or uh, tell me about that
yes,
end
yes,
and
it was. Yes, it was more. It was yes, it was about gun control actually, because Texas was one of the states is one of the states that the gun issues in Texas is probably more than other states, and so the whole campaign was more about gun control.
And Clinton Wonka wants our first awardee. Are we making you nervous? We don't mean to, Stephanie. But Clinton Wonka wants to ask you a question. Clinton?
Yeah, mine is not really a question, but then Stephanie, I think you've actually made the right decision to go towards the path of peace building because coming from a country like Nigeria, I'm not from Nigeria, but then I'm from Ghana, and when you get to West Africa, Ghana and Nigeria is like we are just twin brothers. So whatever happens in Nigeria happens in Ghana. That is how the terrain is on. We share almost a lot of things in common, and taking my mind back to just around 2014 or something like that, when we have a lot of insurgent groups in Nigeria, the most populous one, like the most stubborn one being the Boko Haram and the atrocities they've caused within the West African sub-region, like kidnapping of students. And I think I don't know if a lot of people here are familiar with the adoption of Chibok schoolgirls, like Boko Haram goes to schools and just kidnap all the students, take them to forest, and almost 10 years down the lane, most of them have not been found, and a whole lot of stuff is just happening in Nigeria. So somebody coming from Nigeria, I think one of the best choices you've made is to go towards the path of peace building because trust me, Nigeria and the West African sub-region really needs people who wants to build peace because that is all we need right now. We may want economic freedom and all those things, but then I believe that without peace, nothing like we cannot really prosper, we cannot really be successful if we don't have peace of mind to actually go around with our economic activities. So I just want to say a big congratulations again to you and to thank you for deciding to go towards the path of peace as we from West Africa really need peace builders right now.
Thank you.
The curriculum there at OSU School of Global Studies, there's 4 tracks, as I recall. And which track are you going to focus on one track? And if so, which one is it?
Right now, I'm yet to decide. There are quite a number that are catchy to me. And but I think that I like the global leadership and development, and I also like the global disaster and crisis management, and that's because I have started to find an interest in refugees situation because whether we like it or not, it's growing, and I'm yet to decide on which of this both I would go for, but maybe global disaster and crisis management.
Stephanie, what do you want to know about us?
Well, I first of all just wanted to say thank you for considering me for this fellowship. It means a lot to me. And I am trusting that I'm going to be I feel like maybe nobody can beat Clinton's record, but I know that I'm going to try to be on the top of my game and deliver because I know that there are expectations from me. I mean, I imagine that this is a lot because yes. So I just wanted to say thank you and wanted to also ask maybe to Jim what my expectations will be on this program.
I think I'm going to turn that question over to Chick Dambach, the honoree of this fellowship. Chick, what do you think we should be looking for from students like Stephanie? And
well, I think I think what we're looking for is people like Stephanie and Clinton who have an interest in the future of your countries and your regions in the world. That you're not just there to get an education to better yourself, but you want to do that, but a genuine interest in concern for the quality of life for you and Clinton in Nigeria and in Ghana, but also throughout Africa, So we hope you'll come out with a deepened understanding of the issues and what is needed, and developing a sense of what you can do to make a difference in the world. One of the things that I like best about the School of Global Studies at OSU is that banner, that saying on the wall is, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but how can you change the world? And I think that's what we're looking for, is people who have an interest in changing the place where you live, and the whole continent and the whole world. There are people who go through life only caring about themselves, and others who go through life caring about the larger population. And I think what we're looking for is people with that larger vision and that larger interest and concern, and then developing the skills and the capacity to actually do something that is meaningful and makes a difference. And I am totally convinced that both of you fit into that category. That is the kind of people that you are, and where we'll see this going.